Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Coffman. We're going to discuss interesting topic, I think. Someone had asked about a person if they make obligations for themselves that the Torah does not make them. In other words, they obligate themselves in things they don't have an obligation for. For example, women obligating themselves to hold to the prayer standards of men, time sensitivity of prayer, not eating until after Shemona Esrei, right? Different things like that. So there's a question in general. I guess we'll deal with it in a general way, and that's chumras, right? Taking on something, a stringency that I don't have an obligation. I certainly don't have an obligation to take on. So when it comes to women, let's speak about women for a second. So if a woman wants to pray like a man, she wants to go to synagogue or whatever, in theory she can't. She has kids, going to be a little more difficult to do that. But if she wants to pray, 3 times a day, nothing stops her, right? She has an obligation at least once a day. Some say twice a day. So if she wants to, and she wants to hold to the same standard, as a man, she can. But there's a reason. She's a woman, right? Prayer. A lot of the prayers, the obligation for prayer, time. What is said obviously is, bound by time. But women certainly have an obligation, again, at least once a day. It's good for them, certainly if they have time, to pray once a day. It gives them their own connection to God. But taking on things, it depends what it is, right? A woman has to be careful because she takes on things that most women don't. Even if, according to the law, really she should do it. Right, we'll give an example. Another example would say my machronim, what we call the afterwaters, right? A person washes for bread. And then at the end of the meal, they wash their hands because it could have been, if we ate, there's a lot of salt or whatever, you might take your finger, put it in your eye, it might be a dangerous situation. But things have changed. We eat with silverware, we don't necessarily always eat with our hands, etc. So it may not even apply for a man. But there are plenty of men after the meal, before they bench, before they say grace after meals, they're going to wash, right? They're going to wash their hands. So for a woman, right, there's no question, is she obligated or not? So it would seem that maybe it's a bad example, that probably a lot of women don't wash mayim achronim. Now, it seems that they should. I mean, I don't see any reason why a woman shouldn't. But, one person asked once, many years ago, but what happens if I have to get up and go wash? So I said, you do what men do. You get up and you go wash. It's a big deal. Not a modesty issue, right? It's certainly not a modesty issue over here. So you get up and wash, finished. So, if it's something, let's say, again, we'll speak about women for a second. If it's something that, is forbidden to do, that's something else. If it's something that, well, maybe some people do it. Let's say Sfiras Omer, right? We're finishing up counting of the Omer. There are women that count the Omer. Now, what's one of the reasons that they don't count? They wouldn't count because they're busy. They forget. They don't pray the evening service anyway. Most women. So if they don't have an obligation, they'll probably forget. But what's the other side of the argument? The other side of the argument is men may not do it either, right? Men also may forget, but men should forget less because they have an obligation to pray with a minyan, right? They have an obligation to pray with 10 men. Women don't. So therefore, it's much more likely a woman would forget than a man. So, a person has to gauge, what the stringency is that they want to take on. And the question is, okay, is it accepted? It's not accepted. What does the community do? If there are different standards of the community, you don't have a problem. Right? If a person lives, in a community where most people do X, it's pretty uniform. Let's say in an ultra-Orthodox community, even if you have, Sephardic people there and Hasidim there, but it's pretty uniform what people do. So if a person wants to take on something no one else takes on, it's a little bit strange. right? It's certainly a little bit strange. So when it comes to prayer, women, they want to pray twice a day, 3 times a day. They certainly can. They want to pray with a minyan. Let's say in the afternoon service, they have time, they want to go to synagogue. Nothing wrong with that. Right? The reason they be exempt from doing it is because they have other obligations. So if they don't have other obligations, is this something they should take on if they want to? Right? There's no there's no obligation. There are plenty of things that we've taken on. That is the norm. Right? Women don't have to sit in a sukkah technically. Why? Because it's a mitzvah bound by time. But today women sit in a sukkah. Right? Women sit in a sukkah unless it's like a really small sukkah or whatever, and there's only enough room for the men. So the men should sit in the sukkah. Right? A woman should at least, maybe once, twice, whatever, during sukkahs, make the blessing over the sukkah. Right? And eat in the sukkah. But if it's a question of them or men have the obligation. It's not a question of men being better. It's a mitzvah bound by time. So I guess in general I would say it depends on the stringency. If it's something people don't do in general, I'd say don't do it. If it's something that some people in the community do, then a person can do it. It's going to depend on what the standard, what the standard is, and it's going to depend on what it is. Not just what the standard is, but what the thing itself, is. So I can only answer in general, right? I gave, a few examples, but, I can only answer in general by saying that, it depends what it's going to be. And if it's something so far out there, no one does it, I'd say you don't do it. But it's brought down by whoever that we should do it, but not everyone does it. Or probably most people, let's say, don't do it. You want to take it on. If you're gonna sit, if you're gonna stand out like a sore thumb, and people are gonna look at you funny, then I wouldn't do it. You tell me this rabbi said you could, and it's permissible, whatever. Again, you have to take everything into concern. Just because it's permissible doesn't mean necessarily that it should be done. So that's not really going to answer the question, but I think that gives enough information where, if it's something specific that, somebody wants to know, should I take on this or should I take on that? Right? We gave a few examples, about my machronim sitting in the sukkah. Or what if a woman wanted to take on, she's not going to eat till after she daven Shmona Esrei, instead of just saying blessings, right? Blessings over the Torah, then eat, because, a woman's hungry. But what if she wants to take on the same standard as a man? Can she? I don't see why she couldn't, right? She certainly is not obligated. She doesn't have to. She says, no, but she wants to do it. Okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Taking on something that no one does or is forbidden, right? That's going to be something. That's going to be something else. So that you would have to, text me or send me an email about something specific. Should I take this on? Shouldn't I take this on? Or it's for a woman, etc. So that's what I would say. That's what I would say in general. So I want to thank you for watching. If you have any questions, find me on Facebook, Beyond Orthodox Conversion to Judaism. You can text me there, or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkoffman@gmail.com, RABBI CHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Thanks for listening.